Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we're going to do a review for DYSCHRONIA Chronos Alternate Dual Edition VR. This is basically the complete edition, a re-release of the acclaimed trilogy DYSCHRONIA Chronos Alternate. This definitive edition was released on the Steam store March 27th, 2024 by developer Izanagi Games and My Dearest Incorporated. It normally retails for $34.99. I received a free Steam key through the Steam Creator Connect program to review this game, and I'm testing it out on the Meta Quest 3 using link cable. And DYSCHRONIA also happens to be the third game in the Chronos series, starting with Tokyo Chronos, then Outdeus Beyond Chronos, and now finally DYSCHRONIA Chronos Alternate. And in my opinion, the series has improved over time. For those of you that aren't familiar with the series, this is basically manga translated to VR. It's a VR visual novel, but do not worry, there's not a lot of reading involved in DYSCHRONIA as long as you use the English subtitles or if you speak Japanese. I played the game with subtitles off and with English audio, and 95% of the game was narrated for you. It took me about 16 hours to complete one playthrough, although I was going pretty slow, trying to 100% the game, although I failed in that attempt. I do not want to spoil the story, so I'm going to be very vague about the story, but it is a murder mystery with a bigger conspiracy behind the murders. So you are tasked with investigating the murder, and as part of your duties, you go around to question people, look for evidence, and as part of the gameplay, you'll solve puzzles, you do mini games, and you'll find evidence and try to fit them all together to figure out who done it. Now, there's more going on behind the scenes, but I don't really want to get into it. But I will mention that you are a variant, which means you have special abilities, and that ability is to go back in time and try to change the past, and this becomes a key factor in your investigation. For example, you go to X location to speak to Y person, and because you're pressed for time, that might be all you're able to do that day, but then you can go back in time and go to a different location and speak to a totally different person to get more clues to put the whole puzzle together. Obviously, these changing timelines can make the storytelling feel a bit discombobulated, where you're only getting bits and pieces of the story, and you might be going back 12 years to get a piece of the story, then come back to the present and change the future. And there also happens to be quite a number of characters in this story, so it can be difficult to keep it all straight. There's definitely lots of twists and turns as you go along, lots of shocking revelations. I did end up enjoying the story, but it was definitely very difficult at the start to keep it all together. DYSCHRONIA Chronos Alternate is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080, I was getting a steady 72 frames per second, which is a default on the Quest 3. I did not experience any serious issues or bugs. However, I did experience minor bugs along the way. The most annoying one was that sometimes audio lines would be skipped as though I had double pressed on the trigger. Sometimes it seemed like characters would get stuck and I didn't want to press trigger because I didn't want voice line skipped, but that would happen anyways. Sometimes I would grab an item to try to cause the intended effect, but it would take multiple attempts for it to happen. There were times where I would try to place objects in the appropriate place, but it would instead go back to its original location. And a lot of the interactions were just very basic point and click or point and highlight, and your avatar hands or body would clip to several objects. So in general, as far as VR interactions, this game is not as smooth and polished as you would hope for. You do have full locomotion along with teleportation available, along with smooth or snap turning, along with degree of turn or speed of turn. You do have button crouch, so you can play comfortably seated or standing. Now I played seated and I was a little bit too high off the ground, but I was able to complete the game without any issues. As far as the visuals, this does look like a manga brought to VR, but the visuals at times can be a bit underwhelming with several scenes being repeated. There is some backtracking as well, so the visual variety at times can be lacking. And obviously this game does look like a Quest port because it is, and it does have a low polygon art style as well. Some of the lighting isn't the best. and the textures here are not of the highest resolution. So a lot of the scenes do end up looking a bit washed. As far as the musical soundtrack, I did like most of the music. However, some of the music felt out of place and the sound mix was just bad in certain places where the music was just too loud and you could not hear the dialogue clearly or went against the emotion of the scene. Now, the voice actors did a good job for the most part given the type of genre this was going for, which is a manga. However, some of the performances felt very wooden, especially Maya and Noel Gannett. Now, I think this is possibly a cultural issue where this is the intended effect, but honestly a lot of their dialogue were just ums and uhs, and it just got annoying after a while. And like I said, there was a bug where it's very easy to skip dialogue in this game by accident. Now obviously this game type is not for everyone. Like I mentioned, this is mostly like a visual novel or manga translated to VR. If you like the Ace Attorney series, you might enjoy this game as well because it has some of the same mechanics where you're trying to solve the mystery and figure out who to accuse or how the crime was committed by putting together all the pieces of the puzzle that you've discovered through your investigation. A lot of the puzzles are just finding the right object. A lot of solving the mystery is just being thorough in your investigation and finding all the relevant evidence. There are a few puzzles where you have to think, but for the most part they're very simple and you're guided most of the way, as you can always talk to Lily, your little personal mini assistant, and she will mostly give you hints or tell you exactly what to do along the way, and you can also pet her. Most of the puzzles were fine for a casual level difficulty, but I did not like the memory puzzles. There were just too many of them and they weren't fun to do, and they just got more frustrating as you went along. The good news is I believe for the most part these are totally optional, although they did say that if you didn't do them catastrophe might happen, so I don't know. I tried to do most of them. Overall, I did enjoy this game. I thought the ending especially was very emotional. I think the story did pay off, and like I said, there were lots of twists and turns along the way, but they all ended up making a lot of sense once you got the whole story. There's a lot of high stakes involved and the characters all felt pretty well rounded except for the Gannettes. So I do recommend this game, and if I have to rate it, I would give it a very good 7.5 out of 10. My reason for not giving it a higher score is just due to a lot of the technical issues I faced, but the storytelling and the world building are excellent, especially for a VR visual novel. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. I hope you enjoyed this video review. If you found it useful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the video.
WOH-01 administrator permission has been changed to everyone.
Hal! Hal, did you get plenty of sleep?
Huh? I was asleep.